everyone. I'm very excited to be part of this amazing initiative. My name is Keren Kenzi. I'm a senior software engineer at AppsFlyer, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to get your forms hooked with React Hook Form. So a bit about me. So I love to organize a different kind of meetups. I love to volunteer at Baot, which is an organization that helps promote women in tech in their professional career. I just recently joined as one of the manager of the Tech Bloggers program, together with 3 other amazing women who are really, really talented, and I'm very proud of it. And we are following the footsteps of the amazing Daphna, Ophir, Shif, and Iris. And I'm also one of the co-organizer of Odash Dev, which is a community of meetups in the domain of JavaScript, mostly front-end stuff, etc. And I love to do other volunteering stuff. I have a master's degree in computer science, and in my not so spare time, I study psychology. But enough about me, let's jump into the session. So forms, as front-end developers, we are often required to implement some sort of forms, right? It's either a graph, a form, a dashboard, etc. And implementing forms ourselves can get really, really messy and really complicated. For example, we can have several steps. We can have different kinds of input fields. Each requires its own validation. For example, I had to implement a drag and drop component and send the file to the server, get back a response, and display the relevant error message to the user. So why to implement all those ourselves when there are such great libraries out there that can make our life much more easier? One of them is React Hook Form, and today I'm going to show you how you can use it and hook your form with React Hook Form to make your life as a developer much easier. So let's jump to the live demo. I've already created kind of the basic hello world of form. If we take a look at the browser, what we can see here is kind of a basic form with first name, last name, nothing much to it. But in order to hook our form with React Hook Form, we need to do some basic setups, and I'm going to show you what to do. So I already pre-installed React Hook Form, and I'm going to call use from React Hook Form. And what we need to do here is use the methods it provides. Let's see what it provides. Let's do, for example, methods and call use form. I want to console log the returned method just to show you what possibility and functions you have by using use form. Let's just do something like this. And now when we refresh the browser, we can see here what the use form provides us. So we have the form state, which holds all the relevant information that we can use in our implementation, whether it is the is dirty field, which indicates if the form is dirty, if some values have been changed. We have is valid, which tell us whether or not the form is valid. We have also errors, which keeps track of the errors we have in the form, and much, much more. So the main methods we need to use is the register one, which helps us register the input fields to our form. So let's use it. Let's distract from methods, and let's use it over here. So in order to register the input field, what we need to do is use the spread operator of register, which will provide the methods such as onChange and onBlur to the input field. And what we need to provide over here is basically the name of the field, which function is the key. And also I can provide several options. For example, I can specify that this field is required and set it to true. Now, sorry, I have a typo. Now, if I go over to the form and click on submit, Currently it doesn't do anything because I haven't handled the submit. So let's add another function, which is handle submit, and call it on the on submit. For now, what we need to do is just to print. I just want to show you an example. So I'm just going to print the data to the console log. So we can see that the first name field is being registered and listened to. So for example, when I click now on submit, let's just handle submit, console log the data, and we have the field here over here, register, and let's do also on valid, and it is required. So let's type Wonder, for example, and click on submit. And now we can see that the output returns the first name, and it's Wonder. You can probably guess the last name for the example. It's Wonder Woman. So now we have the data. We only see the first name and not the last name included in the data because I haven't registered the last name yet. We can do the same for last name. Let's just copy paste it and do the same, register, and let's add it as required as well. Now, okay, let's click over here. Maybe I need to refresh the browser, sorry for that. Now when I click on submit, it doesn't do anything. You can see that because the form is not valid, and the handle submit will only print to the console log if the form is valid. So what is special about React Hook form is also its accessibility. When I click on submit and there is an error on some of the input fields, the info will be focused. So for example, in the first name, I have an error because it is a required input. And now I can see that the field is being focused on. So if I will enter Wonder again and click on submit, now we will see that the focus moves to the second invalid input, which is last name, because I also set it to required. So let's say Wonder Woman. And now when I click on submit, as the form is valid, I will get the handle submit will be called, and we can see here on the console log the values for first name and last name. So it's really, really easy. So React Hook form provides us two ways to do validation. If you're used to working with formix and schema libraries, you can also do it here. What you need to do for that is basically to install the hook form resolver and import, for example, if you're used to working with Cube schema validation, you can import a Cube resolver from hook form resolver. I've already pre-installed it as well to save us some time. And what we need to do is provide it as optional argument to the use form under resolver and call Yup resolver and provide it with a schema. I've already created a schema for us, which is Yup object with first name requires and minimum 2 characters, and last name also requires. Now let's jump back to let's provide this schema to the Yup resolver. And let's remove the required from here and the required from here, just to make sure that the schema validation works as expected if you're used to working with schema validation. So now when I click on submit, I can see the error over here. The first name is being has focus, and if I click on submit, the focus moves to the last name, and let's see, now everything works, and I have the first name and last name included in our data. So we can also use form also provide the form state, as I mentioned before. So let's see what we have in the form state. We can register to the error object. And let's do a console log for that as well, so we will be able to see the errors we get. So now I'm using the Yup resolver, and I don't have any values over here. And when I click on submit, the errors will be shown to the screen. And I can see here the message from the Yup resolver that first name must be at least 2 characters and the last name is a required field. So we see here that React form really support the working with schema validation, such as using UP library. So it's really great, but let's return back to the built-in validation and remove the resolver because it's more intuitive for us. I can remove it from here as well. And let's add back the required true, and the same here the same over here. And now let's see other thing we can get from use form and use to our benefit. Let's just check that everything works okay. Now we can see the errors. We can see that both fields are required. Now, instead of just saying required equals true, we can also provide the error message we want to display to the user. For example, this is a required input. Now, when we go over to the browser and click on submit, we can see in the errors, the message, this field is required, and we can print it out to the user. For example, we can add something like this, like let's check if errors first name exists. And if it does, let's bring the error message to the client. Let's do over here. Let us just copy paste to save us some typings. And let's access the message. Moving to the browser to see if everything works. And we can see the error message being printed over here, and the error object is updated with all the relevant information and the message. So it's really intuitive, really great way to display errors to the user, a specific message we want to display. Okay, so now what other methods we can use? We can use a reset method, which allows us to set the fields back to the way it used to be before we change something. For that, let's add a button and call it reset. And for example, on the on click, what we want to do here is call the reset we get from the use form. Now, we want to reset the field to specific values. Now, when we click on, let's say K, and we want to reset the fields will be reset to the empty string because we haven't provided any default value to our form. So if we want to provide initial values, we can also do that by providing optional properties to the use form, which is called default values. And what we need to supply, for example, first name, let's say Wonder, and let's provide also a default last name. Sorry about that. Last name equals woman. Let's see if it works. Let's refresh the page, and we can see here that the form is filled with the default value we just provided. And when I started to click, for example, Spider-Man or something like that, and I click on reset, it will change it back to Wonder as expected. So it's really great. Now, what if we want to, for example, access the method of use forms such as register in a nested component? Let's see what we need to do in that case. For example, let's add additional component I've already created called child component. Let's see that everything is added as expected. So I get here a number of years of experience, 2 additional input fields, and a number of requested Teslas. So currently it doesn't, those fields aren't added to our form as I haven't registered them yet. we only get first name and last name. If we want to register the input fields in a nested component, what we need to do here is to wrap our form with a form provider. So let's do that as well. Form. Let's import form provider and wrap our form with it. Form provider. Second, sorry about that. Let me just use this one and let's wrap our form. Let's do some indentation. The wrong direction. And what we need to do here is to provide the methods we get from the use form, and so that they will be accessed from a nested component. Okay, nothing is broken. Now let's go to the child component. And here what we need to do is to use, in order to access the register, what we need to do here is to use another custom hook, which is use form context. And because we wrapped our form with form provider, we can use the hook use form context and get the register methods we provided to the form provider. Now let's see over here. What we need to do is register, call register. We don't need the name over here. We have experience in years, and let's see if now the data includes also experience in years. Let's see, click on submit, and now we get also experience in years. Let's clean a bit the console log. We don't need to see the methods anymore. And let's leave the errors. And go back to the child component. And when we enter the number of years of experience, for example, let's say I enter the number 2. Let's say I have Wonder Woman has 2 years of experience as a front-end developer. When I click on submit, I can see that the data returns sends the experience in years as a string and not as a number as expected. So what we can do here is also use the power of the register and provide additional option saying value as number and set it to true. Now, when we go back to the form and click enter some, let's say she gained experience and now she has 10 years of experience, and we click on submit, we can see that we get it, the value as number and not as a string. So it's a very cool thing we can use. And let's say she wants 2 Tesla, one for use for the morning drives and another one for the evening. We can see here that the data includes experience, first name, last name. Let's do the same for the Tesla. Let's register the Tesla component as well. We can do the same as we did over here and use, and use the same hook, use form context and do the same. Register, this is separator, register, Tesla count, and let's say it is a required field as well. It's very, very simple, as you can see, to register the input. Very intuitive way, very, very easy. Let's go back over here. Click on the submit. Now we get the focus on the number of Tesla because it has an error as it is required field. Let's say we're greedy and we want 5 Tesla as a candidate, and we have 10 years of experience. We can see here that now we have all the fields display over here. We have experience in years, which is sent as a number. We have first name and last name and Tesla count. Now we can do the same for the Tesla count, and instead of sending it as a string, we can add value as a number as well. values number. And let's refresh our page, click on submit, there are errors. Let's say with a 5 Tesla, and when we click on submit, we can see I have an enter number of experience, and now we have years in experience in number, first name, last name, and Tesla counts. It's very, very easy to get your firm hooked with React Hook Firm, and I just demonstrate. Of course, there are other methods you can use. There are a lot of powerful stuff it provides. I only showed you like bits and bytes of the main things that just to show you how to get started with React Hook Form. Of course, let me see if I can think of another thing I want to show you before we end the session. There is an option to watch the input, kind of you subscribe to updates of the input field. If I will do, for example, console log and call watch, what you can see here is when I start typing, it will type everything. It would watch all the input fields and update the values. For example, let's say I want 5 Tesla. You can see over here that everything is being watched. If I want to, for example, watch a specific input field and not all of them, which is better for performance, let's say I want to only watch the first name and render something specific only when the first name changes, I can do that as well. And then when I click on this one, nothing will happen. But when I change the last name, for example, to 2, I can see the changes being typed to the console log. So it's really, really nice thing we can use. Let's reset everything. And that covers the basic of React Hook Form. I hope you find it a nice library to use. And let's jump back to the slides. So a bit about React Hook Form. Its bundle size is very small. It is only 4.84 kilobytes. It has no dependency. It allows you to do less re-render, which is better for performance. So it's really great library. It's being very well maintained. If I looked at the NPM trends from the past year, we can see that the leading library is Formic, but second place and gaining more and more popularity is React Hook Form. We can see that there are really small amount of open issues. It's really well maintained. It's really small. It has no dependency. I'm not sure what happened over here around December. Maybe people, because there is a drop in the NPM install, maybe people were celebrating Christmas, New Year, etc., and didn't code as always. And that's about it. I hope that next time you get to implement some sort of form, you will consider using React Hook Form and see what advantages it provides and how it is easy to use. Thank you very much for joining this session. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.